Hello. You might be watching this video because you may have been absent or had some other reason for missing class, or maybe you got disconnected and you need to know what happened during the remainder of the time. So I'm going to try to review this for you. So first, we started off with the warm-up. Remember, we do want you to complete warm-ups and exit tickets because this will affect your grade as part of the norms and active listening cognitive skill. Then after the warm-up, we went and did a brief review of the conservation of energy, which you may have encountered in physics last year. But the basic idea is that energy, it's not created or destroyed, but it just gets changed from one form to another. And then we talked about the different types of energy. There usually think about two basic types: kinetic energy, which is associated with motion or moving objects, or potential energy, which is energy that's stored somehow. And then we went into a little bit more detail than maybe you've gone into before. And that thermal energy, that's really just kinetic energy, but at the molecular scale. And we talked about this in the particle behavior project. Likewise, chemical energy, so energy that's actually stored in chemical bonds, that's actually just a form of potential energy, but it's just down at the molecular scale as well. And then we also talked a little bit about electrical energy, and that's going to be part of the next project. But then just to relate this back to how food energy plays into this, food energy, it's actually just a form of chemical energy. So the energy that's stored in food, it's actually stored in the chemical bonds that exist within the food that we eat. And then when we eat it, this chemical energy just gets converted to these other forms of energy, which are necessary for our survival. So after reviewing this, then we started to get a little bit more geared towards what we're going to be doing in checkpoint 2. And we watched this video right here, Who Likes Burnt Meals? So it's a short video. I think it's only like between 3 and 4 minutes really that you really need to watch. But it's a nice video where a guy actually burns some food. And it's pretty impressive because it demonstrates just the amount of energy that's contained within the food. And we use that to help us think about checkpoint 2, which is what we did next. And if you open up checkpoint 2 on your platform, then it should look like this. You have this food energy investigation. Slide 2, most importantly, there's this link right here if you missed class, and that might apply to you if you're watching this video. If you click on this, then it will take you to the last slide in the presentation where it has instructions for completing checkpoint 2. But what we did in class is we gave time for reading this document here. So this is a link. So if you click on this link, it opens up this one-page checkpoint 2 reading that talks about these 3 topics here. This is pronounced calorimetry, and that's the measurement of energy, measurement of calories, specific heat, and calories, because there's 2 different calories that you encounter, which is question 1 here. What is a calorie with a lowercase c? What is a calorie with an uppercase c? And then we talked about these questions as a group. In addition to calories, we talked about thermal energy, and we talked a little bit more about calorimetry itself. So then after that, we also gave a little more time for students to work on completing slide 5 using these nutritional labels on slide 4 for some tasty snacks, some Cheetos or Doritos or Takis. And the idea is to take the numbers and that indicate the the amount of calories and fat and protein and carbohydrates, and we put them into this table. And we do this for a few reasons. So number 1, this is a way of organizing the information in a way that allows you to really compare these qualities of these snack foods, the Cheetos, the Doritos, and the Takis. So it just gives a very easy way to compare, hey, how much energy is in these, how much fat, how much carbohydrate, how much proteins, because they're not all the same. Some have more of some of these, some of the snacks have less. This is going to be useful for answering the questions later on in the checkpoint. Another reason for doing this is that this is practicing one of the cognitive skills that you get scored on, which is organizing and representing information. So definitely keep that in mind. So after completing that, we then just moved on to some independent work time to start working on the rest of the checkpoint, starting with slide 6. So on slide 5, that was taking information from the official nutritional labels. Slide 6 was taking actual data that was collected by a student who essentially measured the amount of energy released when food is burned, like just in the classroom, essentially as part of the experiment. So for each Cheeto and Dorito or Taki, for each snack food here, there were 3 experiments done. And you can see there's a different mass each time and a different amount of energy released. So what you need to do to complete this table is calculate the energy density for each of these experiments. So 3 for each snack food, 9 in total. And you do this just by dividing the energy released, and the units here you can see are joules, by the mass of the food that's burned here, which is in grams. So because the energy density, because the units here are joules divided by grams, all we have to do is divide this column, which is joules, by this column, which is grams, to calculate this. And then we have 3 experiments, but we really just want one number to be able to compare these. So what we do is we take the average of the 3 numbers that you calculate here. You take the average of those 3 numbers to get what we'll call the average energy density for these 3 snack foods. And again, we are organizing and representing information here as well. And this helps us to answer the questions on slide 7 in particular, and then 8 and 9 kind of puts it together, what we did on slide 5 and on slide 6. So, so once you've completed slide 6, you can complete slide 7 here, asking about which food contains the most energy, why do we use the energy density, etc. And then slide 8 asks you to, you'll see here, take information from slide 6 to answer this question, and then take information from slide 5 to answer this question. And we're asking about trends or just patterns that you see in the calculations that you did or in the data that you put into the table. So what patterns do you identify? And we just want you to tell us what you observe. And then once you've done that, slide 9 is the last slide. But this is asking you to say, okay, if we know what the composition of these foods are from our slide 5, and we have this average energy density, which tells us kind of the amount of energy in each food, then what is it that that we can say about these 2 trends that we might identify? So so that is it for checkpoint 2. This was really the main point of the lesson today, is to get you going with this, and we ask you to submit it, if you can, by the end of the day on January 9th, which is Saturday, tomorrow. And that's so we can give you feedback on it as quickly as possible. And this is important because when we ended the day, we did a few things. So first, as always, we've got the exit ticket, definitely fill that out. But then also went to the project hub just to make sure that you can go here and see everything that we did on day 2. So if you click on day 2, it will take you down here. You can see a link to the slideshows that I just showed. All the other daily links, again, warm up, the exit ticket, the video that we watched, the reading that we did, and then checkpoint 2 you have to access on the platform. Here's the due dates for the warm up and the exit ticket. Again, it's 1 week that you have to complete those. But then here's the due date for checkpoint 2 being January 9th. And then the extra links to the vocabulary. And there's another video that goes into a little bit more detail about how we actually measure energy in food. And then finally, there'll be a link to this video in our Project Hub, which hopefully you've been able to access. So that is all. As always, if any questions come up, feel free to contact Mr. Wagner or myself by email or GChat, or come to any of our office hours or come to HCD. So hopefully this is helpful, and I hope you have a great weekend if you're watching this on a Friday or Saturday or even Sunday.